everything is interconnected. We have a unity with all things. Everything is alive and available for a conversation.
The beauty of how alive it still is, and how much more important perhaps it is today in today's world, as a society becomes so much further removed from nature and from the spirit world, to now return to the power and the healing available to us as we reconnect with the earth and with the spirit world, and ultimately with ourselves and our own heart.
This is available to everyone, and it's really part of our ancestry. You go back on your lines, your mother's line, your father's line, you're going to find your own people practicing shamanism. It's natural to us. It's in our bones. It's in our blood, and we're remembering it.
Hello and welcome to The Higher Vibe. I'm your host, Jean Roorda. Today I have with me Beth Beurkens. She is a teacher of shamanism and a vision quest guide. And she's going to begin with a ceremony.
I want to say hello to everybody. Thank you for inviting me into this sacred space. And Gina and I thought, why don't we start this adventure talking about shamanism? Let's just have an experience right away. Yeah. Which is, we want to set what we call the sacred space and drop into sacred time. Whether you're driving your car or you're walking your dog, listening to this podcast, we can always create sacred space around us where we can go into a deeper kind of listening and a deeper way of showing up with our lives. So I like to call in the powers of the 6 directions. And let's just see, you can comment later on the podcast. Was it helpful to you? Did you like it? Did you have questions about it? You can hop on a free call with me afterwards and we can chat about it. I can teach you how to do this, whatever you want. Yeah. So this is one of my shamanic rattles. And I'll just invite everybody to take a nice, slow, deep breath of life. Really think of the trees that are all around you, those beautiful standing beings, the oaks and the firs and the spruce and the pines and the eucalyptus and the redwoods, wherever you are. Just breathe in that gift of life and let's tune in to the powers that we live with every day, the powers of the 4 directions that are always around us, who we can always call on, whether we're in a business meeting or on a long trip or on a vacation. We've got a big question in life. You can always touch into these 4 beautiful powers. So I like to start in the east, place where the sun comes up. I call in the winds of the east, the animals who live there, the eagle, the condor, who can help us see high in our lives. Help us get the big picture. And that's part of what we're doing here today. We're looking at the big picture. Where am I in my life? What is missing for me? What am I being called to? What's whispering to me? What's tapping me on the shoulder? So we thank Eagle for helping us tune into this. We call on the power of the south. We're going to go around the circle now, clockwise. The power of the south. Oh, that beautiful place of the mountain lion. That place of unconditional love. We call that love into the circle. There is plenty of love for everybody here. More than enough. Whatever you might need, just call on the love. Invite it to come in. That feeling of support. That feeling of, I'm not alone. Okay. My questions matter. My life journey matters. We thank the winds of the south. And we call on the powers of the west, the place where the sun goes down, a place where we turn within and we look within and we know from within. We have that power of introspection. And we invite those animals, a jaguar, who can see through the dark and see through the jungle and find her way. And the power of grizzly bear. We invite you all to come in and be with us today. Inform us, guide us in this conversation. Help us speak the words rightly and speak from our hearts, speak from the moon eye. We call on the powers of the north, the place of the North Star. Some of you are looking for your true north, so we call that power of north in, the place of the reindeer and the place of the hummingbird. Help us find the sweetness of life. Help us find the nectar of life. Help us drop into the nectar of this conversation, this heart-to-heart journey that Jean and Beth are on together today. And we call in the powers of the upper world, the great teachers, the great healers, the great spirit guides, whether they be Buddha, Jesus of Nazareth, Virgin of Guadalupe, Kuan Yin, all of you who can be with us, who will be with us, and the whole lineage from the Andes, from the Amazon, from the Arctic, those medicine men, medicine women, healers, seers, oracles, priests, priestesses, shamans. We invite you to be here with us. Help us wake up. Help us see what is important to be seen in our lives. We have this one wild and precious life. Help us see what we need to see and help us take action steps towards that. And finally, we call on Pachamama, the great, great, great grandmother, mother that we come from, the great earth, and what is below Pachamama, the great lower world, and all the power animal helpers who live in the lower world and who are available to us and watch over us all day and all night. The bears, the wolves, the elephants, the hummingbirds, all those guides. We thank you, the dolphins, the blue whales. We thank you all for coming in and showing up and touching us with your love, with your compassion, with your care, your wisdom, your inspiration. And now we have this sacred circle. And Jean and I invite you to come into this sacred circle with us. This is for you. We want to invite you to think about, where are you on your life path? What's going on for you? What's not going on? What are you discontented with? What are you longing for? And how does shamanism help us with those things? Because it is a huge help. So, aho.
Oh, thank you, Beth. So beautiful.
Mm-hmm. That's beautiful.
Yeah. I hope everyone is feeling, as I do, the presence of spirit and the sacred space that you called in. It's spaciousness.
It's spacious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very good.
Thank you.
So now as we jump into some story, I'd love for you to start by sharing how you first became interested in shamanism. When did you first find yourself being guided towards this path?
You know, it's a really interesting question. And I have to say, my entire life.
Yeah.
I grew up in Michigan and spent a lot of time at the Great Lake of Michigan. And there was an awakening to something that happened to me there as a kid. I had a near-death experience, not in the water, but up in the cabin up above, the lodge where I was with my whole family and my cousins. And in that near-death experience, I touched something that I didn't know existed. And my father took me down to the lake. It was sunset, just to get me out of the hubbub of the chaos of everything that just happened up there, the scariness. He took me right to source, the lake, right? And everything was gold, the sand was gold, and there were kids with balls and a dog, and there was the lake. And the sun was going down.
Yeah.
And something cracked open for me in which I felt one with everything. It was my first ecstatic experience. I was the sun, I was the lake was me, I was my dad, I was this little dog, I was all of it. I was the sky. I was the little waves coming ashore. I can still hear them. I didn't know what was happening to me. But that was the initiation, the initiatory kind of opening. And then I went on with life and, studies in school and, lots of years in university and philosophy. But before we get to that, in high school, I would be in senior English class, and that was magical. Mrs. Gordon. And I wish she were alive and I could tell her this story. We would be reading poetry, especially Gerard Manley Hopkins, where he talks about God shining like shook foil. And that just like rocked me inside. There's something here. And sometimes I would see this kind of pinkish glow that would come into the classroom from the windows at the top and I didn't know, what is that? And I could feel, and some of you listeners, you may remember an incident like this, which was apart from the normal, books and the lockers and going to class and football games and, all that stuff, where something wanted to open, but I had no key. So I went to a guidance counselor, and Mrs. Garrett, and I owe her so much, Betty Garrett. And I was telling her about these feelings that I was having, and she just really, her green eyes, she just looked at me intently and she said, I don't know a lot about what you're talking about. And she opened her gray metal desk drawer and she pulled out a book. She said, but here, this might help. And it was the book called The Little Prince.
Oh.
I had never heard of.
Yeah.
And The Little Prince is on his journey, right? It was encouraging to know that one could be on a journey. Yeah. And I'm on a journey. I'm searching for answers. There was none of this in high school literature or anything.
Right.
Maybe a little bit of Thoreau, but
right.
So he gets to this point where he meets this rose, right? He meets a rose, and he learns from the rose that he meets on his journey. It says in The Little Prince, the only way to see rightly is to see with the heart, because what is essential is invisible to the eye.
Yeah.
So that really moved me. I didn't know that shamanism was about seeing with the heart and traveling with the spirit. Mm-hmm. But I knew, I want to see with the heart. I want to go there. How do I go there? So I went into philosophy. 8 years of studying philosophy, looking, searching. So that's really the start for me. And I could talk more, but maybe.
No, I love that. And I'm just grinning over here because I have that quote on a little plaque.
Do you?
Yeah, I have that exact quote. And that was a special book for me too that I got. I think I received it as a gift for my son, my oldest son, when he was like 3 or 4. And I thought, oh, this is kind of for me too, because I don't know how much a 3 or 4-year-old is already definitely perceiving with the heart. But it was very special to me at the time, and I still have that on a little framed.
That's so beautiful that you have that. I love that.
Yeah.
Dovetail of the stories.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So when did you encounter more of the shaman's way and the shaman's path? Yes,
well, I didn't find it in the PhD program in philosophy. I was there studying, University of California, Santa Barbara. Mm-hmm. I thought I'd find it there, philosophia, love of wisdom.
Yeah.
But the way they were teaching it then, really, Sophia had abandoned that department.
Yeah.
And it was really about logic and wordplay and swordplay and who can do the best argument. And I left that program quite sick, physically sick. I had an ulcer and I had terrible migraine headaches.
Yeah.
And I just felt so lost because the plan had been, well, this is going to be a good job. This will be a safe job. I'll just teach philosophy. It's interesting. It's fun. And just be a tenure track professor. But it was not a fit. So I went and I moved to the southern part of the Santa Cruz Mountains, not knowing anything about what I was doing, feeling completely lost. And I went into, what Dante calls the dark, thick wood. Literally moved into an old Girl Scout cabin.
Wow.
I'm living
Yeah.
totally off the grid. My parents are, in Florida going, oh my God, Bill, we don't know what she's doing. Wait a minute, what's going on here? They
Yeah, literally and figuratively moving into the dark.
all
woods.
they could,
Yeah.
there was no computer or texting in those days, of course. And I was trying to find myself because I lost myself. I really lost part of my vitality in that program and lost my mission in life. Oh, I don't want to teach philosophy. That's not it.
Yeah.
There's got to be more.
Yeah.
So going into the dark and lighting fires at night and filling kerosene lamps and, walking the trails with my dog and my cat. This was totally wild. This part of the mountains was absolutely undeveloped. Trying to get my little Volkswagen Bug up the rutted road. There wasn't even a number on this cabin. It was like I was just in the middle of source, in the middle of the shaman's web of power. I didn't know about it, but I was plugging into it. And I just kept searching and searching. What is there for me to do? Who am I? The same questions I had in high school. Now, 8 years later, philosophy and thousands of dollars. I'm in total debt, student loans. I still don't know, but I know there's an answer, and I'm going to find it.
Yeah.
And I had a dream. I was paying attention to my dreams, and I had a dream that I was standing on the shore of an ocean, source, and I looked out in the ocean and I could see something was wanting to come up way out there in the ocean, and something did come up. It was a statue of a goddess, and a friend of mine pushed it to shore, and it was standing right here in front of me. I didn't know who this was, but it's a goddess Nike, who's the winged goddess, the famous Greek from Samothrace, the winged goddess who helps the warriors, encourages them, says, you can do this, come on, you've got this, you can do this, and puts laurels on their head when they're successful. So she was my landmark. It was the beginning of the shaman's map, the shaman's compass, right? Saying, go this way, come on, you can do this. Yeah, you're 2 years into this and you don't know what you're doing, but now here I am, and let's go.
Yes.
So I started reading about goddesses, and there weren't many books then. And I discovered there was this enormous world of moon goddesses and sun goddesses and earth goddesses and tree goddesses and, sky goddesses, and in all cultures this existed. And I put all this together into a course to teach college students, and took it to the Monterey Peninsula College. And I said, look, got degrees in philosophy, I can do this.
Yeah.
And they said, yeah. They put it in the philosophy department, which was really funny.
Yeah, I love it.
And this was the beginning of a worldwide, especially in the Western culture, woman spirit movement.
Yeah.
That's what I was plugged into unknowingly. And
I love it that you are infusing some feminine energy into that very male intellectual world of universities. Yeah.
Women's education was beginning.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I was off the grid. I just was on the real grid. I was to this whole source with a capital S.
Yes.
It was really the beginning of walking my shamanic path by listening and trusting and listening to my dreams and following and acting on it. And the course became hugely successful, and Cabrillo College invited me to come in Santa Cruz, and there were so many people interested, few wonderful guys, mostly women, that they opened up an advanced section of it. Just all of these hundreds of people wanted this. And so the women's spirituality movement began, and I brought shamanism into the work. I brought books in like, Maria Sabina, the Mazatec shaman, and Ruby Modesto and Evelyn Eaton, and invited Evelyn Eaton to come to the class that I was teaching. And she came with her medicine pipe, and She said, I hope you're prepared. We're going to smoke pipe together. And I said, really? And we did.
Yeah.
That changed everything. Smoking pipe with a medicine woman, watching her fill the pipe and offering it to the four directions, which we just did, right? And then touching the earth with it and offering it to the sky and lighting it and passing it to me. And spirituality became tangible. It became visceral, holding that pipe. It was more than the books. I was really good with the books, academic. It was like, and my students were all there, and a lot of the faculty were there from the campus, and it was an event.
Yeah, quite an experience.
Quite an experience. So
another initiation,
and I realized, the students want more. They want this, and I got training in leading vision quests and taking people out of the classroom onto the earth, down into Death Valley.
Ah, yes.
And then I got invited to teach in Europe and lead vision quests in Europe and lay out medicine wheels in Europe. And it's just gone on since then. And I can't remember what your question was.
That's okay. It was about really your initiation onto this path. And it sounds like for you, it was that recognition that the safe path of, university and intellectual understanding wasn't correct for you. You already had that internal connection to spirit guiding you towards something more tangible and real. And so it sounds like you led your own second step initiation into the dark.
Yes.
Into the darkness and the wild. And I love how you called it the real grid, right? Really tuning in and being with nature, being with spirit, and then finding your way. But I love that you then came full circle in a way and brought the wisdom that you found back into that world of universities and integrated those two worlds for a while.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then found your next step of really the experience. I love that when you connected with that shaman and teacher. Say her name again, because
Evelyn Eaton. She
Evelyn
wrote.
Eaton.
I sent a
as I was listening, what I noticed is it made it so real in the body. Because in the university world, it's very much in the mind, like with the books, and there's a beautiful level of understanding that opens up. But then with that experience, it really lands it in the body in a much more tangible way. There's a level of understanding that happens there that's broader than a book can really touch. Yeah.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Yes, I think, that really brings me to thinking about the Munaki rites that I've been initiated in, working with the Peruvian shamans.
Yes.
I've been teaching core shamanism for over 25 years. In core shamanism, Michael Harner, the Foundation for Shamanic Studies, I was a senior faculty member teaching extraction and soul retrieval and power animal retrieval and all very important, around the world. These healing methods and divination methods are found everywhere. That's why it's called core shamanism. And then I was initiated by Juan Nunez del Prado, a wonderful Incan priest, a high Incan priest. Wow. He lives in Peru. Yeah. And then initiated with the 9 Munaki rites. And what I love about the rites is there are transmissions. There are 9 of them. The first one is often the healer's rite. And it connects us to this ancient, timeless lineage of healers who have existed on the planet. And, they even exist in the future. And they assist us with our personal transformation and awaken the healing power. And it's very visceral. It's very much the seeds of the healer, for example, are planted inside of your body when you get this right. Yeah. And then you work with these seeds. You water them and you bring the power of the sun and the warmth to them to help them, start to grow. And then you bring, the power of the winds to scatter those seeds out into the world. And, you get this tremendous spiritual assistance from the lineage, but it very much involves your body. Yes. And your heart. Munai means heart. The power of the heart, the Munai ki. And it helps us address childhood wounds, for example, the healer's right, and bring to light the dark places and heal those. It's really extraordinary work, alchemizing pain and sorrow and alchemizing them into sources of light.
Yes.
Yeah.
Love it. Brings me so much joy to hear. I just love how you communicate about shamanism. It's so clear. Yeah, it's and so embodied, that heart wisdom.
Yeah.
Beautiful. What do you love most about being on this path of the shaman and sharing this wisdom?
I love that it's so accessible and it doesn't leave anybody out.
Yeah.
You know, I did a shamanic training early on with a shaman learning soul retrieval.
Yeah.
And there were Catholic nuns in the training.
Oh, yeah.
And there were doctors and there were lawyers.
Yeah.
People with the call. It's about having a call from spirit, from the earth, or call to wanting to help more. And, you know, whatever the problem is, whatever the situation is, whatever the question is, whatever the illness is, shamanism just comes in and helps you with that.
Yeah.
It's your ally. And these helping spirits, I love them. They're so compassionate. They're so caring. And, you know, to those of you who are listening, you have a power animal helper. You may not know who that animal is, but that animal knows who you are. Mm-hmm. And that animal has been helping you probably for years. Mm-hmm. And you have a teacher in the upper world who's more in human form. And that teacher watches over you. And it's possible to learn who they are, right? And to be able to do the shamanic journey method. It's, you know, the trance state, the going into altered state of consciousness with the rattle or the drum, and traveling to the other worlds. I love traveling to other worlds.
Yeah.
These worlds are just, they're full of love and they're full of compassion and help. The helper is there, you know. God, I wish I had known about this in high school. My counselor had said, well, you're talking about shamanism, Beth, and let's get you in, you know, in a program where you can learn the shamanic journey method and you can start this work now. You know, in indigenous cultures around the world, somebody like me, you know, would have been recognized what my search was about, and I would have been put right into training. Right. The people I work with, they're on the same search and they've not been put in training, but then they get into workshops and sacred ceremonies with me, and we just, you know, what the great poet Hafiz says, the Persian poet, he says, wherever you are is the entry point. So, you know, to all of you listening, wherever you are right now, this is your entry point. You haven't missed the boat. You shouldn't have done this when you were whatever. Now is the time. If you're hearing this and you're feeling a call to something greater in your life, to larger meaning, greater purpose, maybe, you know, soul's purpose, this is the time. I would, you know, say, what do I love about shamanism? Where doors have been shut, shamanism just gently and lovingly opens them.
Oh, I love that.
And just with heart says, come. It's almost like, you know, like the Virgin of Guadalupe, like Kuan Yin. It's like, come. I can help you. There is help for you. You are not alone.
Yeah.
You are not alone. There are answers.
Yeah.
I was thinking about one of my current clients. She lost a dog suddenly, and she didn't know she'd get another dog, but this other dog came into her life, Quincy. She loves that dog, and for no apparent reason, the dog went blind.
Wow.
And we're all in class with her, and she's telling us about this. And so, as a group, you know, we formed a sacred circle and long distance healing. We sent Quincy, this beautiful boy dog, helping spirits. Our helping spirits went to that dog. And the vets all said, he'll be blind forever. You just have to accept that. She
Yeah.
did not accept that.
No.
And slowly, vision began to come back, and you could find a toy and pick it up. And then slowly, a little more, and the dog could go outside with her on walks. And now, like 90% of his vision is back. The
Wow.
vets say it's an anomaly. It happened,
Yeah.
but we know it's what is shamanism? It's like, here's a problem, here's an illness, blindness in a dog.
Yeah.
Now, if there's a spiritual side or a spiritual aspect to that problem, and you bring healing to the spiritual side, then the physical can clear up.
Right.
That's really what shamanism is. You know that. That's so cool.
Yeah.
I love that about you. And
Yeah.
so that's what's happened with Quincy.
Yeah.
And one more example of a client.
Yeah. I love these examples.
I was living in Santa Cruz. My first house that I ever bought is this tiny little Victorian house, and tiniest room in the house was my spirit room, my healing room. And one of my college students who was in those women's programs, right, smoked pipe with Evelyn Eaton. Her sister had a terrible situation with an abusive boyfriend, and she brought her sister to me for healing. Brought her to the spirits that I work with, and the sister were like 3 stairs to get up on the porch. She could hardly get up on the porch. She was limping so badly. The boyfriend, had gotten angry and picked her up and threw her against a wall. Bam!
Oh dear. Yeah.
Really impacted her hip. And so, we got her into the healing room, laid her down on the healing blanket, drummed, sang, got the spirits in, made this spiritual container that we're in here today.
Yeah.
And it was clear that she needed to have her soul brought back. It was such an abrupt, scary event that a portion of her vitality had left.
Yeah.
And the soul of her hip from that trauma had left.
Yeah.
So it was like 2 parts of this soul retrieval work. And my spirits are so generous and so knowledgeable. They knew exactly where her soul was. I brought it back,
Yeah.
blew it into her heart, blew it into her head. And then we went out and we found the soul of her hip, which was unwounded, perfect, alive, vital. And it was waiting and it wanted to come back. It had been frightened away by being thrown against the wall. So brought it back, leaned over her hip, blew it right into her hip, rattled around her, let her lay there for a bit. We talked, I told her the work, and then it came time for her to get up. And her sister came over, getting ready to give her an arm, and she said, "No, let's try it without." She got up.
Yeah.
So what I love about shamanism, that's the question you asked me, is things like that.
Yeah.
It's not me doing the work, it's my helping spirits. I'm the hollow bone, the hollow flute, we call it in Peruvian shamanism, the hollow bamboo, we call it in Chinese, Korean shamanism. They work through me.
Yeah.
And this is available to everyone. And it's really part of our ancestry that you go back on your lines, your mother's line, your father's line, you're going to find your own people practicing shamanism.
Yeah.
It's natural to us. It's in our bones. It's in our blood. And we're remembering it. And we need to be remembering it now. Shamanism is so hot right now. People want to know this. They want to learn this. They want to work with the spirits, in their own yard. They want to be able to help, a neighbor, help a partner, help a kid, help a dog. And it's so accessible, it's so available, and it's so sweet.
Yeah.
It's so kind, it's so loving, and it's so incredibly, incredibly helpful.
I love that you speak to the universality of it, like the common, what you call core shamanism, the commonalities across all these different lineages and all the different places around the world. That tradition of shamanism is still alive. I think there probably used to be even more, and then we had the periods of history of colonialization and all of all of the kind of taking and extracting rather than the givingness of these traditions of shamanism.
Yeah.
So I love that you're highlighting that and just how it is so accessible. We can all trace back to some, it might be a lot further back for some of us in our lineage, but it really is the core lineage for all of us if we go
Mhm.
back far enough. And just the beauty of how alive it still is, and how much more important perhaps it is today in today's world,
Mhm.
as we've as a society become so much further removed from nature and from the spirit world, to now return to the power and the healing
Yes,
available to us as we reconnect with the earth and with the spirit world, and ultimately with ourselves and our own heart.
that is so beautifully said. Yes. Our soul's health, let's talk about nature.
Yeah,
Our body's health is absolutely inseparable from the natural world. We
absolutely.
are intimately tied, intimately connected.
Yeah.
We're part of the earth.
Yes.
But we live in houses. It's all earth. It's all Pachamama everywhere you look. The lamp,
Yeah.
the wall, the oak, beautiful oak, filing cabinets, the printer, the computer, my clothes, everything. But we forget that.
Yeah.
We just forget it. And we're all about, what are we all about now? Social media and paying the mortgage and
Yeah.
getting the kids off to school and the groceries and the cleanup and
It's a lot about survival, like
survival and the tasks,
yeah.
right? Circumstances of life. But
Yeah.
we can't be whole and we can't be empowered without a vital relationship with the animals, a vital relationship with the plants, a vital relationship with the earth, the rocks, the sun, the moon, the stars. And this is what healed me after graduate school. I
Yeah.
lived off the grid in the dark, thick wood, lost to life. And then Nike came, and the goddesses came,
Mm.
and Evelyn Eaton came. But it was being in nature that put me back together, really. Walking those trails every day with the dog and the cat,
Yeah.
watching the moon, learning like yerba buena. What is yerba buena? There were all these incredible wild plants there. I learned about the herbs and sat in the sun and restored my soul.
Yeah.
So my soul's health came back by being with this. And, it reminds me of a beautiful ceremony from Australia called Didiri.
Mm.
Didiri is deep listening. And I was doing that for 3.5 years without knowing what I was doing.
Yes.
This is something anybody can do today. Didiri, if you're feeling like out of sorts, kind of lost, burned out. I was so burned out from PhD program. You just go sit in your backyard or sit on your balcony or just open a window. You just stand there and feel the quality of the air. Feel the temperature of the air. Notice any birds that are singing. You're not looking for answers. You're just doing this deep listening practice. If you can be on the earth, good. Feel your feet on the earth. Feel the trees around you. Breathe in that oxygen. Just become one with all of this. Dadiri, deep listening. So healing. So I did that for 3.5 years. Again, unknowing, just driven by, I got to get better. And it healed the migraines. They just went away without medication. It healed the ulcer, just absolutely healed, went away.
Yeah.
And it helped me find my greater purpose. Really, all the work I've been doing the last 30 years, it all goes back to Corralitos,
Yeah.
to that 3.5 years living off the grid and listening,
Yeah.
paying attention.
Yeah.
There's got to be something more. And I got out of that dark, thick wood. And I paid off those student loans. And, we were talking about the Mooneye Key. I wanted to let the audience know I'm actually doing a live event coming up the last weekend of May 29th, 30th, and 31st, right here at the Pacific Ocean in the Monterey Bay, where I live. There is a retreat center called Asilomar.
Yes.
And it was designed by Julia Morgan, the great female architect in the 20s and the 30s. It's so beautiful. All the buildings are like built right into the dunes, and the wildflowers are everywhere, and the ocean is right there. And I'm going to be offering people some of these Munich rites, the direct transmissions. And it's going to be a blue moon, and we're having bonfire at the beach, and we're drumming together. And I'm going to offer the Jaguar transmission, which really helps people get through the dark, thick wood. Really helps you go through the jungle and restores important instincts to you and builds your courage. And we're also going to do the bands of power, which build a kind of force field of protection around you, these 5 bands of power, and some other rites. So
wonderful. I love the story of just how you restored yourself to the earth, restored that connection to the earth, and just how simple and powerful of a healing that is. So beautiful. So
it was also arduous.
Yeah.
It was scary being
simple doesn't always mean easy, right?
dark. Oh my God. And having to haul, canisters of kerosene up there and propane and chop wood. You know, what I do, I chopped wood and I hauled water.
Yeah, chop wood, carry water.
Really. I mean, that is so powerfully healing.
Yeah.
But nobody's got time like that. Nobody's got 3.5 years, right? So the work I do is condensed into maybe 8 weeks or a month or a Saturday, a master class, or 3 days at the ocean. It's accessible.
Yeah.
It's really
But it sounds like you picked a place that has its own healing power. Where you're offering this weekend in late May.
It's called a Silomar.
A Silomar.
Silomar, yes.
Yeah.
It's Edward Weston did his photography here, and he made the area, I think, really famous. The rocks here and the tide pools and, the whales going by. And
yeah, that's a really special place.
It's a very, very special place, Silomar, the retreat center,
So talk to me about what life looks like as a shaman, or how would life be experienced differently, both by you and in other shamans that you've met? What is the different experience of life, right?
That's a great question. Well, I've got this. This makes all the difference.
Yeah.
Having a drum, I'm just going to drum for 1 minute.
Okay.
Having access to the heartbeat. And how that takes you into an altered state of consciousness. And with the right information, instructions, how you can then travel and be in other worlds where there is healing, where there are these like hidden sources of wisdom to solve real life problems. And it's that feeling of, I'm never alone. I have my power animal, I have my teacher, I have this whole lineage who helps now with the Munich rites.
Yeah. And
maybe even more important is I can help anyone who comes to me. Yeah. I have the tools, I have the knowledge, I have the wisdom, I have the ceremonies. Ceremonies are just extraordinary. They're the ways that we do the deepest changes, right? Because we work with the brain, really. It moves us out of that fight or flight limbic brain up into the neocortex, the place of spirituality and music and creativity and mathematics. Yeah. And when we're up here, we can actually change old stories.
Yeah.
And I think this is what I was looking for in high school.
Yeah.
And university. And
something more.
I wanted to help people, but so to be able to help in the deepest kind of way, is such a blessing and such a gift.
I love it.
And to see the people I work with, see them really change.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of one of my clients in the Netherlands who grew up in a really tough, strict family with her father, who had told her she was just a piece of you know what.
Oh,
She
yeah.
didn't know anything. I mean, she had incredible talent as a kid, but he was so mean and he just shut her down. And
Yeah.
she somehow found me, and we've been working together for a couple years now, and she's an extraordinary artist.
Wow.
And she has refound her art and that expression, and just had her first show last year in a gallery, and now has a drum and is now leading other women. She lives right on the North Sea in the Netherlands, leading other women out to make mandalas in the sand. And she's now got a whole new art form, and she's free inside.
Yay.
Free. She's working with clay for the first time. She's got this whole series of women, and
Yeah.
it's hers. It's like her freedom that has arisen. So you're asking me how does that look, right? To be connected to the shaman's net of power.
Yeah.
It just
And then expand that net or that network to more and more people, right? Inviting more and more people into that space of wholeness and awareness.
yes, and power.
It takes me back to what you said with, yes, and power. It takes me back to what you said about opening doors. So as you were sharing about both your experience connecting with the spirit world, it's like all those doors are open, right? I would imagine how a shaman experiences his life, similar to how you and I experience life, is those doors between this physical world that we're also entranced by and kind of sometimes stuck in, and this broader world of love and of spirit and of healing and power, as you said. Those doors are open, right? There's not such a separation, like you said with drumming, that way of that is like opening the door, entering into other worlds, right? Other states of awareness.
Yeah.
And then sharing that, getting to share that with anyone, like, here's some doors you can open. Right? both seeing where there's doors that are closed and then guiding people towards opening them for themselves, and
Yes.
having that spirit world more accessible and integrated into their life, and the power.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yes. So how would you say, to offer to any listeners, what is a way that one could get started on this path if they're called to it?
Beautiful question. So open the window, open the door, go sit in a chair, go stand with a tree.
Yeah.
Put your hands on the tree. Talk to the tree. Some shamans say they learn everything they know about shamanism from the trees.
Yeah.
Put your hands on the tree.
Yeah.
And tell the tree what it is you want. Tell the tree, what you're discontented with in your life. What's not working for you, what you're tired of. I'm tired of the commute. I'm tired of being in the office. I'm tired of this boss. I'm tired of 3 a.m. wake-up calls. I know there's more for me. I thought I'd be farther along in my life. Just tell the tree. Tell the tree. And then listen. Well, the tree may say something important to you. Could be one word, or just this feeling of, wow, I just got to say all that. Wow, I was heard. That is a really beautiful way to start.
Yeah.
To connect with, everything is alive in shamanism. Everything is interconnected. There's that beautiful prayer that comes from the Sami people up in far north, the reindeer people in Norway, that says, the earth is a circle. The moon is a circle. The drum is a circle. The sun is a circle. We are a circle. We share an interdependence with all of life. We have a unity with all things. everything is alive and available for a conversation. The grass in the front yard, the star, the Pleiades are up now.
Yes.
The North Star, the trees.
Yeah, the insects.
The insects, everything is alive and is sentient in some way. So to just go out and whatever you're drawn to, grab a rock, get a rock in your hands.
Yeah.
And just, we were talking about this last night in the Muna Key group, just to sit with the stone and see what the stone has to share with you. Just get your hands on the earth. Like I got my hands on Evelyn Eaton's medicine pipe. Physical, visceral, was filled with spirit.
Yes.
And that changed the whole paradigm. It changed the story for me. Oh, spirituality can be physical. It's not just in these great books we're using. It's visceral.
Tangible. Yes.
It's tangible. Thank you for that word. And another thing I wanted to offer your listeners, if it's okay with you, is, whoever is hearing this, if I'm not telling you these stories so you know more about me. I'm telling you my stories, so I hope it will awaken something of your own story. We have planted some seeds here today, really.
Yeah. And
visions may have begun to awaken in you, and there may be medicine that's now stirring inside of your soul, right? And if you'd like to walk forward with that, if you're feeling a deeper call to step more fully onto your luminous pathway, then I would love to talk with you.
Yeah.
Right where you are on your unique path of power, your path of healing, Maybe you've been off it for a while, or you lost it, or you threw it away, or I don't know. But if you're wanting to really listen to that call, come back, have a conversation, have a chat, we call it these days. That would be the next a stepping stone for you. It's my offer to, I'd love to get to know you and, perhaps give you a ceremony that you could do at home. That would be simple, 5 minutes, but that would be, like turning the wheel and opening up a new door for you. So, if your heart's saying, hey, there's more for me, I want to find that.
Yeah.
I just want to honor you and say, come and have a chat. And that's another way to start. Right? So
thank you for that invitation.
There is this luminous path that is available to everybody, but you've got to want it. Unless, you have an accident and you get a horrible wake-up call.
Sometimes that's how it happens for people.
That's how it happens, and that's what it took, right?
Yeah.
There were little signs and breadcrumbs before that, but it's like, oh, I don't have time for this. Oh, I don't think so.
Right.
And, the illness. I've worked with a lot of people who got really, really sick, and then they realize, oh, I do want to pay attention. Oh, this is important. Because what happens when there's longings and there's callings and we ignore them and we keep the door closed? Well, that energy, that's life talking, that energy has to go somewhere. Right. So it symptomizes. Right. And graduate school.
It gets our attention.
Symptomize. Ulcers, migraines. Oh, I also had terrible eczema. The life force in me was not happy there. Everything was symptomizing. And so I put myself back into the real grid, the real power grid, and all of that got healed.
Yeah.
So it's like, you take a step. Wherever you are is the entry point.
Yeah. And oftentimes illness can be that entry point for people because it really gets our attention.
Right.
And oftentimes it's the kinds of illnesses that can't be addressed or aren't easily addressed in any other way, right? They have to be looked at what's the underlying spiritual information here.
Mm-hmm.
Where am I disconnected from source? Where am I not in alignment with my inner being? Yeah.
That's beautifully said. That is exactly it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Lots of information available to us. But again, that can be the doorway, and we can open that door and find healing and reconnection.
And, thank goodness that we do get to pay attention.
Yeah.
Sometimes we leave it too long.
Yeah.
And it's too late.
Yeah, I loved your answer to when I asked, how can someone get started? from what I hear from you, it's you can just be curious, right? And you put it as go out, touch the earth, like be with the earth.
Yeah.
But really from that place of curiosity. So curiosity and wonder
Hmm.
is that's what opens that door.
Yeah.
And like you said at the beginning, right here, right now, right anytime. This moment is a great
Okay.
a great moment, wherever you are, to just open that door of
Yes.
curiosity and wonder, connect with the earth, connect with the natural world.
It's
And
not too
perspective.
late.
Yeah.
It's not too late. You
Yeah.
haven't
It's never too.
missed the boat.
Yeah.
Now is the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right now, in this moment, when
Yeah.
you're hearing our voices,
Yeah.
just talk to your power animal and say, I don't know who you are
Yeah.
yet, but I would love to know who you are. I
Yeah.
would love to learn the shamanic journey method or whatever. Watch the red-tailed hawk fly over as you're zooming down the Autobahn.
Right.
You know, there's a message in that, right? Wow, yeah, I want that bigger picture in my life. I want to be like the hawk. I want to be like the eagle. I want to be like the condor. I want
Yeah.
to like look at my life as a whole. There's
Yeah.
got to be more to life.
Seeing things from that larger perspective.
Cannot be it.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like anyone who's drawn to shamanism, to a spiritual path in general, reaches that place where they're like, there's got to be more to life, right? More to this existence, more to this experience of being in a body. There's got to be more. And that's when we start to get curious and ask those questions. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, but spirit's so patient, right? Always just there,
Yeah.
ready and willing when we are. Patiently waiting for our hello.
Yeah.
Thank you, Beth, for sharing
Thank you.
yourself with us. And I appreciated how you shared, that you're not sharing your stories necessarily so we can get to know you, although I super appreciate that. But also, with any guests I've had, I love hearing what I call maybe origin stories, how we got on our path, because it does resonate with so many people and it does plant that seed of wherever you are, this can be the starting point for you. And
Yeah.
there's those similarities in how we all get started, right? Where you're asking those deeper questions, or you're seeking a deeper level of healing or relief from symptoms, or there's some kind of agitation in the field, right? There's something that you just naturally sense, this is not fully aligned for me. There's something more that something deep within me is seeking. And I
Mm-hmm.
can find that and I can begin to move towards that
Mm-hmm.
naturally and intuitively and be guided by spirit. So thank you for sharing your stories and sharing yourself with us today.
Thank you for the great invitation.
Yes.
It's really been magical to be with you. And I don't know if you have felt it, but I have very much felt the presence
Yes.
of these very generous, loving, kind, compassionate, helping spirits. And just offer them to whoever is listening here. If you're needing some help, you're needing somebody to rely on, they're here. And just get them in your hands and say, oh, yes,
Yes.
I want to know more. I do want help. I do want guidance. I do want a mentor.
Yeah.
I want a teacher. I want to find my way.
Yeah.
And there is a way. Yeah. Oh, exciting. Hooray, there's a way.
There is a way.
Hooray.
What's that saying? Where there's a will, there's a way. And the willingness is just that curiosity, opening that door. Here we go. Yes. Thank you. Yes, I do really feel and appreciate the presence of spirit that you've
Thank you.
invited in for us today. It's very loving and compassionate. Lots of kindness. Feels very
They're very generous, the
warm
spirit.
and cozy. Yes. Very generous and patient.
I know you had asked what kind of people are drawn to this work.
Oh, yes.
What kind of people can come into this work? I think there is something important about having a calling to it, having, curiosity, your word, a longing, a soul calling of what is your why? Why would you want to learn the shamanic journey method? Why would you want to do a vision quest with me? Well, getting clear on what's going on in your life, the discontents and the longings, and what it is you're really wanting. When I'm in this cabin, what am I wanting?
Yeah.
I'm wanting to be able to help, but it's not through philosophy. I don't know what it's called, but I've got in my soul this, I want to help others. I want to find my way out of this darkness. I want to be a guide of some kind. And that was like my beacon, my torch, and it kept me moving forward, and it kept me searching. So having that kind of, there's something more I'm being called to. I don't know what it is. We don't have to come to this path perfect with all of our ducks in a row.
Right.
Lined up, but that will just stop us forever.
Right.
People often delay, resist or doubt, but we don't have to do that. If you have that something in your heart that says, I know there's more, and I want to find it, and I want to be able to serve at a different level, that's enough. That is the key, I think, that unlocks that door in that relationship with the spirit. So it can be any age, any gender, anything. Just if you've got that, that's I think what the spirits are looking for too. Because they're the ones who are going to say, yeah, okay, let's do this. And we can do this, in Beth's classes. We can do this at the retreat at Asilomar. There's many ways we can do this, but we want to have that calling.
Yeah.
That calling, I think, is really important. Traditional shamans, they get a calling sometimes through a dream. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's a lineage that's passed on to them. Some of them try to refuse the call, and then they get sick.
Right.
They don't believe it's possible. They have all these doubts that come up. Just because my mother did it doesn't mean I can do it. There's a wrestling, with the call, like Luke Skywalker, right?
Yeah.
He wants to be a big Jedi master, and he's working with Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Obi-Wan says, well, I've got to get to, I was going to say Asilomar. What was it called where he had to go? And Luke says, well, I can't do that. I don't have the time. My uncle's waiting for me. I've got to get back to the ranch. And Obi-Wan says, well, it's up to you. He's resisting the calling. He doesn't want to invest the time or the energy. But then he kind of says, well, okay, I can take you that far, but then you'll have to get your transport for, farther. We got to watch out for that. We got to watch out for resisting the call, getting into delay, into waiting for things to be comfortable and convenient. Because great opportunities rarely come when it's comfortable or it's convenient. That's a great opportunity to rent that little cabin for $85 a month. Southern, Santa Cruz Mountains. It was not comfortable. It was not convenient, but it was an incredible opportunity. I'm so glad I stepped into that because that was the container.
Yeah.
In shamanism, we need this container, and we've been working inside of this container here all day. So,
Thank you. That's such a great reminder that opportunities don't necessarily align when things are convenient. We don't have to have our ducks in a row.
No, we don't.
It's so important to remember that because we often do put things off that would be so important and beneficial to us because we feel like, well, we have to have these things in order first. These things related to our physical existence, right? Before we can then, tune into spirit. But really, when we tune into spirit first, all the physical things work out so much better.
We do. Hello.
So it's like putting spirit first, then things become less effortful.
Yes.
And we don't have to, I think they call that, don't put the cart before the horse.
Something.
Yeah. When we put the effort and the survival before, we have to have all those ducks in a row before we can then make space for spirit. It's a very effortful path.
Yes.
So the cart is before the horse.
The drum is before the mortgage.
Yeah.
Before the, making the meal. It's like, oh, I just want to do this.
Yeah.
And sometimes, doing what we really most want to do is the hardest thing to do.
Yeah.
It's the hardest thing to get to. For me, it's like working on this new book that I'm working on. And there are so many other things that need to be done and should be done. And 2 weeks ago, I just said, I don't care. I am working on my book. I don't know what could happen with this, but let's see. And I was so relieved. I had such a good week working with all my clients and students because my soul was so deeply satisfied that I had done what I really most wanted to do. So we just set things aside and say yes to the soul, yes to the spirits. So I'm inviting you all to do that if you feel this calling, right?
Yeah.
You feel this medicine stirring in your soul and you know there's something more for you. Don't put it off. I'm so glad we talked about that, about refusing the call.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes we have to put it off, and then we recognize that tension and that dysfunction and that resistance that's not working for us, and then we say yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's all kind of ways that we do this.
There's all kind of ways. Yeah.
The point is, this is your moment.
Yeah.
This is your moment, and here's a gift that can help you.
Yeah.
This amazing gift. Jean, thank you so much for taking this time out of your life to help all of us look into the spiritual path and, shamanic healing and vision questing. And really, we don't know how much longer we're going to be here. We don't know.
Yeah.
And we want to do what we're uniquely put on this earth to do. And we got to do that now and not keep putting it off. So,
now is the time. Thank you, Beth.
Everybody.
Yay.
All the listeners.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us today on The Higher Vibe. Would you like to close, Beth?
Yes, I would. And just invite everybody, do this with me. You in your bones, you know how to do this. Just do this with me, okay? I'm just going to rattle. I'm going to thank the spirits. You just thank whoever was with you, and then release and let them go, okay? So we thank all of those helping spirits who've been with us here today. Thank you for your inspiration. Thank you for your sense of fun and joy in storytelling. Thank you for awakening us to what is greater for us, what is calling to us. We thank the winds of the east. We thank the winds of the south. We thank the winds of the west, and we thank the winds of the north. We thank the gods and goddesses and teachers and guides of the upper world. We thank Pachamama and the power animals in the lower world. We thank the whole entire lineage, all those who've come before us, all those back tens of thousands of years who have been practicing this work and keeping the fire alive. Thank you for allowing us to come to the fire and sit with you. Thank you, thank you. We are closing this circle now. We say thank you. We bless you. We release you. We let you go. It is finished in beauty.
Thank you, Beth. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today on The Higher Vibe. We'll see you next time. Hello. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you watching. I hope you enjoyed what you saw. If you did, go ahead and hit like and subscribe. Share this with friends. Really helps us out, and we really appreciate it. And we look forward to seeing you next time.